The Elliott wave principle gives best results only when it is correctly applied. Contrary to most other technical approaches, it does not provide mechanical signals. In order to be able to see the present situation with all the probable alternative counts, one must have a trained eye, creative imagination, and patience. Once mastered, the wave principle becomes a beautiful symbiosis between art and science. Counting Elliott waves is very similar to recognizing different fragments of a whole and putting them together. The good news is that you have a limited number of fragments, grouped in two categories: motive waves and corrective waves. Under motive waves, there are regular impulses and diagonals. The three types of corrective patterns are zigzags, flats, and triangles. According to the Elliott wave principle, motive waves are followed by corrective waves and vice versa. So, if you want to count the subwaves of a correction, you have to start your count from the end of the previous motive wave. If you want to count the 5 subwaves of the motive wave, you start from the end of the previous correction. Let's take a look at some examples. On this chart, you can see a complete Elliott wave cycle. Note how the two phases of the trend, motive and corrective, fit together to form a bigger setup. This chart depicts a very clear impulsive wave, labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by the corresponding 3-wave retracement, which in this case takes the form of a double zigzag marked with WXY. This example shows how the correction starts after the end of the impulse. Now we will demonstrate how the impulsive phase begins after the end of the correction. Note that in the first case, the corrective phase starts from the extreme, or the top, of wave 5, while in the second one, the motive phase starts from the extreme, the bottom, of the wave Y. That is how we put the two pieces of the puzzle together. It probably looks quite easy so far. But what happens if you spot an impulse on a chart with the idea to wait for the retracement and attack the trend resumption, but it never comes? Let's examine one such situation. Having spotted a clear 5-wave rally in place, you would assume that a correction is in progress. After its end, you would expect the uptrend to continue. This is what happens instead. The price falls much further than expected, and the bullish scenario is ruined. Those who have just started learning the Elliott wave principle would probably blame it on the method immediately. On the other hand, the minority that had spent enough time studying it would go to a bigger time frame in order to see the whole forest and not just the surrounding trees. And the bigger time frame makes it clear. The bullish idea failed because the impulse we were looking at was the last fragment, wave 5, of a larger 5-wave sequence. And we know that after every 5 waves there should be a correction. It's the same pattern, but on a different scale. The important thing to remember here is that you should always be aware of a wave's place into the bigger picture. And of course, always use a protective stop-loss order to guard you from your own ignorance. In conclusion, the right approach when making an Elliott wave analysis is to start from the largest degree possible and then go down to the smaller waves and fit them all together.